Alan Pardew is a bellend. Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Studs Up podcast. My name is Ryan Oldham.
Garrett Lovett is back.
And Muhamed's here.
Unfortunately.
We're back, fellas. Yay. It's been 3 weeks.
It's been a while.
International break and all. That was the international break was going on for 3 full weeks. Obviously, That's why we didn't record for 3 weeks.
I think, Muhamed, you've probably completely disregarded last week's Premier League games anyway, just because of how terrible that went for Chelsea. So,
no, that was an international break, bro.
That's what I mean. It didn't happen.
No. I'm pretty glad that we're still the only undefeated team in Europe right now. Makes me very proud.
Hey, wait. Can you list off the teams that are in your group for me?
For where?
For Europa League.
No, I said undefeated team in Europe, as in like an all competition.
I don't think any Chelsea fan could list off those teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
No, we definitely got smacked. We got our booties smacked by Tottenham, which sucks because honestly, if I hate Tottenham, like so much, where if I had to choose to which jersey to wear, and like either a Tottenham jersey or an Arsenal jersey, I would kiss an Arsenal badge before I even look at it. Fucking put a Tottenham jersey. I hate Tottenham so much.
But he loves Man City jerseys. Yeah. He wears them quite regularly.
That's true. Yeah, we have the photos to prove it too. Dave even said it. Dave didn't write an email this week because Dave wrote an email last week and then we didn't record. So sorry, Dave, but last week he did say that what should concern Chelsea fans is the manner of the defeat. The Spurs absolutely destroyed Chelsea and could have scored 6 goals. And Chelsea were being hyped up for their good start to the season. But have we seen the true Chelsea? Did they only look good because they hadn't played a quality team up until that point? Thoughts?
Disagree.
Thoughts?
Disagree. 100%. To a certain extent. Dave is usually pretty good with his analysis. Is his over games.
Anal sisses.
Anal sisses. He's usually pretty spot on, and he's close there. I don't think it's because they haven't played quality teams. I think they played good teams in general. It's as much as I love him, I absolutely love David Luiz. He's if not my favorite Chelsea player at the moment, currently playing on that team. I love the guy, but he remember the statistic we were talking about today, Garrett? We were talking while we were having lunch. He was behind.
Thanks for the
and the fault to obviously almost, I think, all of the goals versus the Tottenham game, and he has been a contributor to every single goal that was allowed that Chelsea got conceded against.
Yeah, the majority of them, if not all of them, have been from David Luiz mistakes. So that's worrying.
And I love him, and I wish we had a good David Luiz, but I don't think there is a reliable David Luiz. Period. Like you saw him with his abysmal past. What was it? 2 years ago, where he actually played something. Last year he obviously didn't because Mr. Conte. He's just not reliable. Was it Gary Neville said it right? Was it Gary Neville with the he's like a 12-year-old playing PlayStation?
I'm not sure if that was Gary Neville, but yeah, I know.
It sounds like something.
That sounds like a Gary Neville quote.
Yeah. It sounds like something like as big of a dick as Gary Neville would say something like that. But he's right. He's spot on. Like, especially this season, he puts on like some good plays. You see him run. You see you see his run, and you're like, wow, that's an amazing defender. He's in there. He's in the other half. He's passing a great ball, or he hits a rocket and it goes somewhat decent, and it's a good shot. He has good runs. I'd put him in a center defensive mid position, to be honest. I wouldn't play him as a center back. Obviously, Chelsea's midfield is, you can't get in it. You see Ruben Loftus-Cheek's playing fantastic game in and game out, and he can't start. So, like, he can never play that position. As a center back, I am too scared. I would be too scared to have him on the pitch in big games.
Well, he's got to make those runs forward because we know Morata's not going to score. So,
hey, bud, he's doing fantastic this season. This is the season of his life. He scored like 7 goals. Chill out.
No, he hasn't
in all competition.
Okay.
And to go back to what Dave was saying about has Chelsea finally just come up against an opponent that's a quality opponent? Dave said that they hadn't played a quality team yet, but they did beat Arsenal 3-2. They beat Liverpool in the League Cup 2-1. They drew in the Premier League with Liverpool. They drew with Manchester United. Whether they're a quality team or not is
up for debate.
Up for debate.
We'll
probably talk about that a little bit later on in the podcast anyway. But obviously, yeah, they've out of all of those quote-unquote top 6 teams, Tottenham are the only one that have been able to beat them so far. So, and then they came back 4-0 against Panathinaikos and then 2-0 against Fulham, who, with new manager Claudio Ranieri, seem to be on the up. So I think maybe it's just a blip on the radar. Tottenham are at home, and the fact that they didn't buy anybody in the summer means that team is so well gelled together. They have one of the best managers in the league. I just because Chelsea have lost one game, I don't think that takes them out of the Premier League running. They're still one of the best teams footballing-wise that I've seen this season, alongside City and Liverpool. So they've got a massive game at the weekend against City at home, so they could maybe knock City off their perch a little bit and give them their first loss. Wednesday, obviously, there's a full lineup of matches on Wednesday, so maybe there'll be some tired legs on both teams. But it's Wolves away. You would expect them to maybe field. Maybe that's a game that Loftus-Cheek can start, so they'll have a more of a fully fit starting 11 against City.
Did you just say a youth Chelsea player is gonna start a game for Chelsea Football Club?
I did, and it could happen. So there's this kid. You're gonna have to tell me a little bit more about him, Muhamed. Is it Hudson Odoi?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So news reports came out today that Chelsea are considering bidding £70 million for Christian Pulisic from Dortmund. Why? When you've got a kid like this on the bench.
Because he's the American dream.
because
70 million. And that's $100 million.
Trash.
Pulisic?
Dude, absolutely. That would be the most trash deal possible.
For $100 million. Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100%.
First of all, $70 million is ridiculous for that dude. Second of all, he's good. And third of all, we have a exact fucking duplicate of him, and he's also homegrown, and he's also younger than him.
Yeah.
And literally playing for the team already. He scored in his league debut. He's had like 9 shots on target, 3 of which were beautiful shots, like shots that world-class players take. It wasn't just him ripping it into the net and praying to God it goes in. He dribbled, cut into the box, tried to swing it around the keeper, was close 2 or 3 times. Like, seeing those kinds of displays show that he has some kind of quality. But you're talking about Chelsea Football Club here, and we have 39 players loaned out currently, and he will be one of those added on next year. He'll be loaned out to Vitesse, and then we'll never see him again.
Yeah. Well, it just doesn't. I don't get it. Maybe the Chelsea youth coaches. I mean, what is even the point in being a Chelsea youth coach at this point, unless you can put on your resume that all of these players that you coached are now at other teams?
Yeah, made it elsewhere.
It blows my mind how Chelsea gets quality players. Chelsea has the best youth system in England and hands down one of the best in the world. Putting in top quality players all around. And what happens, is nothing. Like they don't do anything. They win the League Cup every single year. At nine League Cups in 10 years, FA Youth Cups. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
But they win it every single year. Why do people play for Chelsea? Why do these kids join? Why don't they just go fucking play for Burnley and start?
Well, that's what it seems like most. After Jadon Sancho went to Dortmund, I think a lot more players are kind of following suit and thinking, I don't want to go on loan every year for 5 years and then finally get a permanent move to Burnley because I wasn't, or like Barnsley or something because I wasn't developed well enough. I want to play full time. I don't want to be on a loan. I want to be on a full time contract for a team where I know that I'm going to get at least 3/4 of the games every year. And look at how well Sancho's doing. Made the England team, and if he was still at City, he wouldn't have made the England team. You get those once in a generation players like Phil Foden that break through, but they're like I said, once in a generation.
Phil Foden would not play for Chelsea Football Club. He would not start. He would not sub in.
He's not. Well, he wouldn't start for most of the big six, but the fact that he can get a few minutes every now and again, I think, is good for him.
My point is, he wouldn't even get that
just because of the way that
he would
club
never.
is run.
He would never get that. Period. Yeah. If fucking Ronaldinho was reincarnated tomorrow, he wouldn't start. He wouldn't play. And not start. He wouldn't get subbed in.
You know that.
It has to be deeper. Like, as much as we're talking about it, because we're obviously analyzing literally with zero knowledge of over anything besides what we see on the pitch, there is something at the team where either somehow magically every single manager Chelsea's had since 2005 has been somewhat a moron and doesn't understand the possibilities of youth, which is impossible considering who we had as managers. Or there's literally a backroom staff that does not allow Chelsea youth players. The board does not allow Chelsea youth players. Something does not allow them to play. I think that has to
be it, because especially with the contrast of managers that you've had. Mourinho has obviously always been not anti-youth, but very reluctant to use them. I don't really know Conte's record on youth. Sarri seems more willing to use youth players, but
I just don't think he's allowed.
When does it come down to maybe it is the board saying, because it's a business nowadays, and Chelsea is one of those first teams that had so much money pumped into it by Roman Abramovich, so it's one of those first teams that actually moved from like a footballing standpoint to a business standpoint, and instant success and sponsorship deals is what keeps those clubs running nowadays. So not giving chances to the youth and maximizing the chances of winning a Premier League or a Champions League trophy is a lot more likely to please a board than it is like maybe a 10 or 15 year plan where you can start to play youth players. It just doesn't happen like that anymore. I mean, it happened in the 90s. We saw it in the 90s.
Chelsea's past that. Chelsea's not a PSG. They're not a Monaco, even a City anymore. Like, they're not. Whoever says, whenever I see those little like memes about like EPL teams or even teams in general all over the world being like, oh, this is what money, like the money grabbing teams, the PSGs, the Cities, the Monacos, and these other teams that are just all about financially blowing everyone out of the water.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Chelsea's past that. We did it in 2006, 7, 8, and all that, but that's well over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's not we are a team that is on the same category as United, as Liverpool, as Barcelona, as these big teams. It's not just a money pumping fucking some random oil tycoon bought them out just now and is pumping billions of dollars. Chelsea's been making billions of dollars for 10 years, 10, 15 years now. It's not a recent thing. It's not a past 5 years thing. It's been happening for quite a while, or it happened a long time ago. Now it's just sustainable.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if what are there? Is it Qatar, Emirates? I don't know who owns what Prince owns PSG. Tomorrow, if he just stopped pumping in billions of dollars a year, they would go they go bankrupt in a year. Chelsea, Roman Abramovich doesn't even live in the country, in either country where he's based out of,
He's not even
and they're
allowed in the
still
country anymore.
financially amazing.
Yeah.
They're not that category anymore. So they are able to do a 10-year plan like United can and Liverpool can. They can put a 20-year plan. They could put youth players in and be able to do that. They could literally do that. But there's something that doesn't allow them to. And you know what? Fuck the Chelsea board.
Yeah. It has to be instant success. It has to be. Because there's no other way of looking at it. If there's no want or need to play youth players, the only way of looking at it in my eyes is that they're desperate for that instant success, and it shows in the managerial appointments too. You know, it's max 3 years at this point to be a manager at Chelsea. It's a very short-term appointment, and going into the job, you have to know that. You know, it's
and
one season
that instant success factor doesn't apply anymore. It physically doesn't. We won the Champions League. We won every competition humanly possible already. Every single one Chelsea has a trophy of. The Champions League was won with fucking Jose Bosingwa that cost like $7 million, with Big Pete, with Ryan Bertrand, who was a Chelsea youth player, and Didier Drogba, who was one of those players they got in when they were pumping money in. The rest of the team wasn't worth shit. They got Frank Lampard and John Terry. It's not. If you could win the Champions League with what Chelsea won it with, then you can win it with Ruben Loftus-Cheek starting, with youth players starting.
So then,
if you can win it with that team.
So if it's not the instant success factor, then why would there be let's say it's a rule or it's encouraged for the managers to not use too many youth players? Like what?
Lord knows, bro. I'd give Garrett's left nutsack to fucking know that answer.
Left nutsack?
Yeah,
you have too.
Damn.
If anybody that's listening has any ideas, email the show at fuck. If anybody that's listening has any ideas, do email us at studsupsoccershow@gmail.com or reach out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Email Ryan all your sack pics.
Yeah.
Actually, right after this, there will be a status posted, and I want anyone who's not Dave, because we hear from him a lot. Anyone at all in the world that will just say what the reason why Chelsea doesn't pump in players.
But Dave, do comment anyway, because just comment, Dave. Please comment, please.
I love you, Dave.
Dave's a good guy, that guy.
But
good lad, that lad.
I think there's the argument is there to be had about whether or not it is anything to do with the model that the board bases their managerial merry-go-round around, quote unquote, because it's not, like I said, it's not a long-term appointment, and everybody going into that job has to know that at this point. So whether it means you're going in and you want to have as much success as possible from a manager's standpoint, because you know it might not last long, maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but we'll see. Let us know if you have any ideas.
I mean, speaking of things that Chelsea does a lot, sacking managers. We had a sacking recently, didn't we?
Yes,
we did.
Good segue.
I'm a
Mark
good
Hughes.
lad.
Mark Hughes is the latest Premier League casualty. I actually saw a nice little stat that shows the decline of Mark Hughes over the last few years. He's the first manager first Premier League manager, I believe, to be sacked by 2 Premier League clubs in 1 calendar year.
Wow.
So Mark Hughes not having a great year managerial-wise. I'm sure he's making quite a lot of money off of his severance payments.
I mean, but can you blame them? They lost to they drew to such terrible opposition that I don't think they had a choice.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's a sad. I don't want to make this about Manchester United because we'll talk about United in a little bit, but it is a sad state of affairs when the Southampton board makes the Manchester United board look more incompetent than they are by actually taking action against a manager that has just not proven himself this season. He got sacked by Stoke earlier in 2018, and now it's Southampton that have sacked him this time. Seems like obviously he was Premier League proven, and he's done quite a lot in the Premier League as a manager, but maybe it's time for him and the likes of Sam Allardyce and Alan Pardew, if their pride allows it, to just take a step down to the Championship and maybe build a team back up instead of just... Mark Hughes just doesn't seem like the type of guy that would want to swallow his pride and actually go and do it. I don't know if Harry Redknapp, who is currently... Here's another TV show that you need to watch, Muhamed, once you've finished with your Celebrity Love Island. Harry Redknapp is currently a contestant on a TV show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where a bunch of
my God,
no-name celebrities and Harry Redknapp, because he's a pretty big name, go to the Australian jungle and basically just eat kangaroo testicles for about 8 weeks.
Yeah, just do disgusting shit.
Yeah, and
I've seen it.
Yeah,
sounds like a Tuesday night.
But the thing is, I tried to get into that for like a day and a half.
Okay.
And then I realized that I don't know anyone that is in England or...
Well, to be honest with you, neither does anybody that lives in England. Nobody knows who these people are. They're just trying they're trying to resurrect their careers more than anything.
It's like watching Fear Factor after everyone's lives are gone to shit, and you're like, oh, I remember that guy. He made that one song, and then that's it.
That Despacito song.
Yeah, it would be nice to kind of speculate on whether Harry Redknapp would leave the jungle to take the Southampton job, but it seems like Ralph Hasenhüttl, and forgive me, Ralph, if you're listening and I butchered your name, but it seems as if he's already agreed to take over the job. Former Leipzig manager, very good with youth, from what I am led to believe. And I think that's what... See, this is what... And I again, coming back to Manchester United, but this is what a board does that has to sack a manager in the middle of the season. The manager doesn't work, so instead of just trying to fill the gap with a stopgap appointment, kind of like Alan Pardew or Big Sam, they go out and they look at managers that are available, managers that are not Premier League proven, but they have a style that is what they want, and they're thinking long term with this appointment. There's no way that they're going to bring this guy who is unemployed and has never managed in England. There's no way they're only going to give him 2 years. This is a project now. This is a project club.
I mean, I think everyone is. Everyone besides the top 6 in England are project clubs, bro. All of the teams besides the top 6, I literally feel that anytime they get a new manager, it's that exact mentality. This is a 5-year, 4-year. If your contract's 5 years, this is our 5-year plan. Yeah. Whilst anyone in the top 6 is like, all right, you have 1 year to literally win a major trophy, and if you don't, you're going to be sacked.
Yeah. But it seems like, I mean, obviously the clubs that are battling relegation or find themselves down there at this point do sometimes make those knee-jerk decisions, and they're like, oh, Alan Pardew's done this before, let's bring him in. I'm really happy that they haven't done anything like that and actually looked a lot more long-term than, for example, when West Ham got David Moyes. There was, he only signed a contract till the end of the season, but he did save them from relegation that year, and you could have...
Pretty well, too.
Yeah, and you could have thought that maybe he would sign a long-term deal. But,
well, here's the question, Ryan. If you had a choice with sticking with Jose Mourinho for the rest of the season, or B, getting Alan Pardew to come in as your manager, which one do you choose? You have 5 seconds. 5, 4,
Can
3,
I kill myself
2,
instead?
1, 0. What's your answer?
Can I just kill myself instead?
No. What's your answer right now? Go.
I think I would actually just kill myself. It's not in the rules, but I could just do it.
Mental health issues are not a joke.
Yes, they are not. If you need help, reach out. studsupsoccershow@gmail.com. Honestly, I hate Alan Pardew with a passion. I think he is the biggest prick that the Premier League has ever seen. And there's been some pricks in the Premier League. So I would have to sit and watch Jose Mourinho's Manchester United for the rest of the year. because I never want to see Alan Pardew in the Premier League again. Just
Why do you hate him so much?
Just think about it this way. Okay, so when he was Crystal Palace manager and they got to the FA Cup final against United, and I can't remember if they went ahead or they equalised, and the camera went onto Alan Pardew and he did that stupid dance that made he thought he was like a Spanish or an Italian man, where in reality he's just some prick from Wimbledon that thought, like, he did this like little salsa dance when Crystal Palace scored, and then Jesse Lingard scores an absolute banger at Wembley as usual, wins the game, shuts him the fuck up. He tries to make everything about himself, and he never makes it about the actual team. That's why, I mean, we were talking about it just as he got sacked from West Brom. I think there was a time they went to, I can't remember if they went to Spain or Portugal. They were having a terrible time. He took the entire team. Johnny Evans and one other of the players stole a taxi, and he was in a club getting absolutely wasted. Alan Pardew was. So
like a man.
Yeah. So he tries to make this a team bonding event, where in reality he's just in a club getting pissed, and two of his players are stealing a fucking taxi down the road. So he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the teams that he manages. He only cares about himself. And I mean, you could probably say the same about Jose Mourinho as well. But to the level that Alan Pardew has disdain for the clubs that he manages and just pure lust for himself makes me angry.
Is he a bellend?
Yes, he is a bellend. Alan Pardew is a bellend. That is the name of this episode. Episode 15 of the Studs Up podcast. Alan Pardew is a bellend.
What's a bellend?
God.
I hear it on Love Island a lot. I just want to be cool. What is a bellend?
You're saying bellend.
How do you say it?
Bellend. It's technically
that's what I'm saying. Bellend.
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 You're a bellend.
BELL space END.
Oh,
Technically, there is no space, but just say bellend.
They say it so fast. They say it like this. They're like, "You fucking bellend."
Yeah. Well, you said it right that time.
All I have to sound like a fucking piss drunks, fucking scouser.
Bellend.
What is a bellend? Can you tell me?
Muhamed is a bellend.
Can you tell me what a bellend is?
It's just a prick. It's a bellend. You're a bellend. Stop being a bellend, you bellend.
Okay. All right, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, no, that cleared it up.
Thanks.
We're all on the same page now.
I would say so.
Webster Dictionary, hire Ryan Oldham. He's good.
So, overall, Alan Pardew is a bellend. We decided that, and luckily he will not be managing Southampton because it looks like Ralph Hasenhüttl is going to be taking over. He has agreed in principle to take the job. I'm sure there's going to be some contractual things that have to go through there. He's going to get some decent money. I mean, I know Leipzig are owned by Red Bull, so they probably have a decent amount of money already, but they have pushed youth through, as have Southampton. Luke Shaw, one of the most notable ones.
Virgil
van Dijk as well. So
half of the Liverpool.
Yeah, he's going to come to a team that has a great youth setup, but also has the Premier League money that he's going to be able to improve. Whether or not they go on a spending spree in January is, I don't know, but we'll see.
His biggest challenge is going to be keeping him in the league because I think they're in the relegation zone right now.
The Premier League table has them at 18th. Yeah, only on 9 points, 1 win. I mean, I'm surprised it took him this long to sack Hughes. Maybe they wanted to give him as long as they possibly could, but with only 9 points from 14 games, that's really pathetic. Just 1 win. I mean, they've won the least amount of games in the league. I mean, Burnley and Fulham are below them, but they've even won more. So, maybe a bit late.
I can't believe Burnley are below them. After the season they had last year,
and Fulham.
Yeah,
with the team.
Ryan predicted them to finish 6th.
Well, Ranieri's there. You know, we could see.
They're honestly going to win the league.
They could.
They're only 14 points back. We've seen bigger Deficit's closed.
14?
14 points back from sixth spot.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say they're 30 points back from the top of the league.
And in sixth spot is Everton, so I think that should be a good segue into our next little talk, which is that Liverpool derby, Liverpool against
the
Everton.
Absolute insanity.
I got in with my cousin to watch the game. We were eating breakfast late after we got done with work, and I tell him, I was like, turn on the game. There's the Merseyside derby's on, and he turns it on, and we both look at each other. What did I say?
Merseyside.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm retarded.
Bellend.
I'm a Bellend, yeah. But long story short, I was like, dude, it's the 85th minute.
Long story short?
Short. Okay. Long story short, we saw that it was the 85th minute. We're like, shit, the game's over, and then boom.
The game's over.
And then that happened. It was pretty intense, yeah.
No, that was like the craziest ending to a game I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not when City won like the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manchester City winning the league against QPR had nothing on Jordan Pickford, just ruining every Everton fan's day.
I said in a while. That's ancient history.
Yeah, very true.
I thought you were going to say ever. Like, that's why I said that.
There is a video circulating on Twitter of Danny Mills, who apparently took exception to Jurgen Klopp's celebration. I have it pulled up if you want to listen to it. It's not too long, but apparently he went a little crazy about Jurgen Klopp.
But for Klopp to run on the pitch like he did as well, I mean, I just think it's absolutely disgusting. And he shouldn't be allowed to do it. Surely something's going to happen to him.
Liz, can I just say, and it's difficult to do right in the heat of the moment, if Everton had scored a 96-minute winner at Anfield and Marco Silva had gone running on the pitch to celebrate, and you'd obviously be buzzing, would you also be having a go at your own manager, do you think?
Yeah, if he ran on the pitch. I mean, I think he's got a bit more decorum than that. I don't think he would have done it anyway.
I think you're right, Liz. You know, to do it.
Minute, I'm sure I would have been jumping around like everybody else, but I don't think my manager would have run on the pitch like Klopp did, and I just don't think it's right. I mean, dear me, I mean, Pickford must be feeling absolutely terrible, do you know what I mean? And, like, you know, it's going to be really, really bad for him and for the rest of the boys to pick themselves up after that today.
I agree, Liz. I think it's absolutely shocking what he does. Yeah. I mean, okay, go down the touchline a little bit, come out your technical area, celebrate with your staff on the bench. I don't have a problem with that at all. But to run into the middle of the pitch, I mean, if that's a fan, you know, there's all sorts of things being questioned.
He's going to get arrested, isn't he?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think it's disrespectful to the Everton. I mean, and he knows, yes, it's a derby, it's a big game, but you cannot run into the middle of the pitch to celebrate with your players, last minute or not, doesn't make any difference.
Liz, I think just looking at the pictures as well on our screens in here, I think he knew as well that he'd made an error because the TV cameras were getting quite close to him on the full-time whistle, and he was trying to push the camera away and say, concentrate on my players, because he doesn't want the story to be about him, but it will be about him in that celebration tonight.
Danny Mills, I think, really kind of goes overboard. I think he said it was disrespectful to Everton. I don't think it was. The caller that called into that radio show said, "How must Pickford feel?" That's not Jurgen Klopp's fault.
Right.
Well, it's nothing to do with Jurgen Klopp how Pickford mismanaged that situation. Should Jurgen Klopp have run onto the pitch? Probably not. But I would have if United score in the 96th minute against Manchester City and I'm the manager on the sidelines. And the amount of emotion that you must feel, you're going to run onto the pitch or you're going to run down the sidelines. Or, I mean, he said he ran to his closest player. Alisson's right there in the middle of the pitch. They run, they hug. He goes back. You know, he even admitted that he probably shouldn't have done it. But it's the heat of the moment. I think Danny Mills is really kind of, for some reason, he's gone way over the top on that. And
who scored? What's that last name?
Origi.
Origi, yeah. Did you guys see that Oxlade-Chamberlain literally followed him on Twitter right after the game?
Really?
Are you kidding?
They didn't follow each other.
It's funny.
It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, Danny Mills has, I suppose, these radio shows, they have to get listeners. They have to have one person agree, and they have, the two hosts will always disagree because it makes good radio. But I think Danny Mills really seems like he's sincere when he's actually really annoyed by what Klopp did, which I just can't understand. I mean, Klopp did make it about him. Even at the end, if he's like pushing the camera away and trying to get the cameras to look at the players, even in that moment he's making it about him because he could just completely ignore the cameras. He is a showman, and he always has been, and he probably always will be. It's just that this time he gets charged for it, and I think there was a lot more hate on Klopp in the moment than there is now looking back on it. I mean, I've even seen Everton fans online say I'd have done the same thing.
Right. And like you and I were talking earlier, when I saw it, I thought immediately, I was like, I thought it was unprofessional when I saw it at first. But now looking back on it, no, that's what I'm just being honest. Like, that's what I thought when I saw it. Now, looking back on it, I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But when I first saw it, I was like, that's kind of unprofessional.
Yeah. You know me, guys. You know I'm all about being a complete cock. I loved it.
Yeah. It's also probably partially my absolute hatred for Liverpool and everything they stand for.
And the thing, and the thing about it though is that the Premier League are going to charge Klopp for misconduct. Probably, maybe a touchline ban, but a fine for at least. But next time Liverpool play Everton, they'll use it in their marketing. They'll use the video of it, and they'll use it to sell the game. So it's is that a double standard? Are they going to, fine Klopp or touchline ban, but then also be like, well, it's a really great clip, so we'll use it to sell more subscriptions to the service next time you guys play each other. So it does seem like there's a little bit of a double standard especially because the amount of video on Jose Mourinho in the Champions League when he smashed the water bottles. Obviously, that's not the FA; they couldn't do anything about it. It's UEFA, and he wasn't charged, but. It's this like running cycle of Klopp screaming at the fourth official, or now running onto the pitch, or I think Pep Guardiola may have been fined or at least warned about talking about the referees before the game. But they sell newspapers and they sell ad space on websites and they sell the games and subscriptions to the sports subscription services because of this drama. So it kind of seems like a double standard where they allow some and they don't allow others. I just let it go. Allow all of it or none of it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, especially if they're going to... I didn't think about it that way, like advertising for the next go-around.
Yeah.
If they're going to benefit from it, just let them fucking do it.
Especially if Liverpool win the league this year, that clip is going to be played at every single TV show if they win the league.
Yeah.
So
not a fucking chance, but yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Speaking of other teams that have no chance of winning the league, United suck.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Ryan, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I'm 2 for 2 for transitions.
Yeah, that was
They've
nice.
been doing great. Yeah, I think all the transitions this episode have been really good.
How did you feel when they were 2-0 down to Southampton?
So, I actually had this conversation. So, our mailman at work is from London, but he's a Liverpool fan. He's a Liverpool fan, and he's a bell end, and he came into work today and we were talking about it. And I said, and I've said this to a few friends, a few Manchester United supporting friends, that what once was a big part of my week is now slowly turning into something that I spend 100 minutes on. 90 of those minutes are watching the game, and then 10 minutes are either being angry about it or happy, and then I completely move on. In the past, when Ferguson and even Moyes and even LVG were there, being a Manchester United supporter was like part of my identity, I thought. Maybe it's just me growing up as well, but it's now not even it's not entertaining for me or anybody watching unless you're playing against Manchester United. 2, I find myself scrolling through my phone for the majority of the game because I just know nothing's going to happen, especially that Crystal Palace game, 0-0 at Old Trafford against a Crystal Palace team that are just 14th in the league. They've won 3 games. They've got a -7 goal difference. I mean, to not be able to score at home against Crystal Palace is pathetic. And then to just watch a manager such as Jose Mourinho kind of seems to want to get sacked at this point, because I think he's resigned to the fact that he can't turn it around. His football is outdated and he is refusing to change it. Against Southampton after that game, he came out and said we don't have enough mad dogs on the team, yet he refuses to drop Matic. He refuses to play Fred, who is a mad dog. He refuses to play Andreas Pereira, who is also a mad dog that would do anything for the badge. Came up through the youth. Matic, I think, has gone through about 8 weeks worth of games where he has been seriously subpar. And the only thing that is going to make Mourinho drop him at this point is if somebody breaks his leg. Because he keeps starting every single game. You've got a £50 million midfielder on the bench. And then he has the audacity at the end of the game to complain that he doesn't have a fully fit squad. And yet he's got Fred sat on the bench doing nothing. And he's got Pereira sat on the bench doing nothing. I mean, it's actually pathetic. Like, it's so... And like I said, it's not a big part of my week anymore, but it obviously is because of how annoyed I am talking about it right now. I just don't think it's gonna get any better. But the board are also incompetent in the terms of, in the past, historically, they haven't sacked a manager until top 4 is mathematically unavailable. And if we wait that long again, it's just going to be yet another managerial merry-go-round. Hire Allegri if he's available, throw 500 million at him, and say, win the league. And then it's just the same thing again. I mean, we just got drew with Reading for the FA Cup third round at Old Trafford. I saw that draw came through on my phone, and I thought, oh, bottom of the championship should be a fucking good game. Like, oh, they'll probably give us a good fight. Bottom of the championship. I saw a good tweet, and I'd have to pull it up. And Mourinho said, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Mourinho said that we were aiming for top 4, and now he says that Manchester United need a miracle. What we need is a new manager. I don't give a shit at this point about a director of football or anything. That can be dealt with at the end of the season, because in the middle of the season, to hire somebody to completely overhaul the upper management of the team probably wouldn't work out. But just say that, just use that as an excuse to not sack Mourinho, it is pathetic for me. And I think, again, they're just waiting for mathematically for it to not be, for top 4 to not be available to make the decision. And everybody said that at the time when Wenger left, there were a lot of Arsenal fans that said they didn't want Wenger to leave because they would start to follow United's path down the table, or follow Liverpool's path down the table. But look at what they did. Good recruitment. They hired a manager that is progressive, that plays good football. All of those players are playing for each other and the manager. And they've completely changed how... I mean, nobody even fucking remembers this last season under Wenger anymore because they're so happy with how Emery is doing at the Emirates. And they're coming to Old Trafford on Wednesday. And that could be a bloodbath because of how well
they're playing good
right now.
They're playing good right now.
They're playing really well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they come to Old Trafford and they win 3-0. Is that enough for Mourinho to finally leave? Because I don't know one fan that is defending him anymore. The only person that is defending him, and probably defending him in private, is himself and Ed Woodward for some reason. And there's two things. One of them has to be top 4 is still technically available. And 2, if Ed Woodward sits down and finally sacks Mourinho, then he has to admit that he has been in charge for 3 terrible managerial appointments.
Yeah.
Moyes, Van Gaal, and Mourinho, all of which have failed. And
I
maybe
mean,
he
it'll be
doesn't
his
want to
end of
admit
his
that.
career, probably.
Well, that's why the director of football needs to be there. Well, I mean, how are you going to put a money man in charge of commercially the biggest football team in the world?
At the same time, every time a team gets a brand new manager, you only see the prospect of it. You always see like the possibility of what could come. Right now, like with Sarri, I have no idea. I have no idea how he's going to behave when Chelsea eventually start doing poorly with him and he gets sacked. Garrett, you can find that out with about 4 or 5 Google searches how Pep's going to act when Pep eventually gets sacked from City for not doing well. But Mourinho is that one manager that no one has an excuse. Like even every United fan, including you, have zero excuse of like, I can't believe his behavior. Anyway, I'm not saying that you're doing that because obviously you're doing like the reason why he should be sacked. You're not aiming on his behavior, but it's fucking Jose Mourinho. You and anyone else anyone that has him as a manager needs to know 100% when he starts losing. There's no. Yeah, Arsenal came out. We need to improve as a squad. We really need to do better. We're going to hit training harder. We're not going to my guys aren't going to have an off day this week. We're going to be playing harder. We're going to be pushing harder and hope for a good result next game. He's going to say, I think the ball was too flat for me. My players were, he's going to say some shit like that. He's going to blame it on a flat ball. He's going to blame it on the sun glaring because in Manchester the sun sets properly, but down in London it just acts weird.
So this is a quote to kind of go off of that. I'll piggyback off what you were saying.
God, I'm good.
Ferguson, it's like one of those on this day quotes. Alex Ferguson's Manchester United lost 2-1 to Ajax at Old Trafford and still advanced to the last 16 of the Champions League. And Alex Ferguson said, I've got to accept I'm responsible for picking the team and I picked too many young players in the back 4 positions. When have you or will you ever hear Jose Mourinho admit that it's his fault that
it's never
his
happened
team
and never
lost?
will happen?
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's the issue right now is that he came out against the last game. There was a news report that reportedly Jose Mourinho called Pogba toxic, or that he was toxic to the dressing room. And it was in Manchester United circles, the journalist that released it is quote-unquote Mourinho's mouthpiece. He's the guy that leaks any news that Mourinho or Mourinho's team gives to him. So it's obviously Mourinho, instead of trying to get the team to come together, band together, he's yet again pushing everybody else out. He's trying to get the team to, instead of being against him, he's trying to get the team to be against Pogba, who arguably, he hasn't played well, but if you're going to have 2 defensive midfielders behind him and then expect Pogba to do all of the attacking work and distribution, and he doesn't have a bad game, he gets singled out, but there's nobody there helping him. And Fellaini and Matic, as much as Fellaini has probably helped us out a lot this year, especially with the goal against Young Boys and the goal against Arsenal, how can you that is not a Premier League winning midfield. Pogba is the only player there that you could say, he is part of a Premier League winning midfield. Fellaini and Matic, Matic is past it. Fellaini is a bit part player that plays a role well, but he's not the type of player that's going to win a Premier League for you. And especially with Fred on the bench, and you've got Andreas Pereira who's just sat there waiting for his chance. And probably if I was him, I'd say in January, if I'm not going to get a chance, or if Mourinho's still here, cash in and sell me. Take me to Germany like Sancho.
Head over to Hoffenheim.
Oh, take me to Germany like Sancho did, and I'll prove that I can play at the top level. Because he can. It's just a refusal on Mourinho to accept that he's wrong. And so I would fully expect that Matic and Fellaini start against Arsenal. I would actually, honestly, fully expect Manchester United to win that game, because that's just how it goes nowadays. When the pressure seems to be really, really mounting up on Mourinho, they always seem to come out with the win. Newcastle is the greatest example there. And I will never say that I want Manchester United to lose. I've seen a lot of people online saying that they want Manchester United to continue to lose so Mourinho gets sacked. That is an absolutely pathetic standpoint to have. But the writing is on the wall. And I want Manchester United to win as many games this season as they can, but at the end of this season, Mourinho is out regardless, in my opinion. So why not just do it now?
If he's not, that's absolutely ridiculous,
yeah,
I think.
So why not just do it now? Yes, you pay the severance payment. Ed Woodward looks like a fool. You hire a director of football. You hire a manager that's young. I mean, I would take Eddie Howe at this point. I know, and there's probably better managers available. European.
Eddie Howe's a good manager.
Yeah, well, better managers available in terms of like Jardim or Allegri, but what Manchester United need is, and I've said it week in, week out, a 15, 25-year plan like they did with Sir Alex Ferguson. Look how that got them. But, like it is a business, if you hire Eddie Howe and try to explain to the not-so-passionate fan, and maybe just they watch every other game, that maybe we won't go with any success for 5 years, but we're really building something special, something new, with a manager that is young and passionate and plays good football with Bournemouth, because they do play good football.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a business means that I don't think that kind of appointment would happen, because the majority of the fan base of Manchester United are non-English, non-Mancunian, and only want to see the team winning. And I don't think that they would accept a mid-table finish for a few years while Eddie Howe kind of really gets to the grips of that top-level management. Now, obviously, that's just complete speculation. I've just made that up. Nobody's linking Eddie Howe with the club. But if it was my decision, I would hire somebody like him. And I'd do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow over there.
Technically, it is. I was
Honestly,
like I said, it is Monday in America right now. I was very, very surprised this morning when I woke up and I didn't have an update that he had been sacked. Very surprised. Because the way Manchester United works, they can't sack a manager right after the game. They have to wait for the New York Stock Exchange to open and tell their shareholders and that kind of stuff. Very, very surprised this morning when I woke up and didn't see that he'd been sacked.
Yeah. I don't think I would be all that surprised if he gets sacked, if you guys get absolutely smashed by Arsenal.
Yeah. I mean, you've already qualified for the second round of the Champions League. There's no need to win that game against Valencia because they're going to the Europa League. So you haven't got Champions League football now really until February.
Right.
Already out of the League Cup. Sack Mourinho. Bring somebody in. Or maybe even just give it to the Carrick and his Kieran McKenna, his assistant.
Yeah.
For the rest of the season and just kind of...
Bring in Paul Scholes.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Scholes.
As much as I love Paul Scholes, I think I thought Jose Mourinho was miserable in press conferences. I wouldn't want to sit there and listen to Paul Scholes talk for 5 minutes. But yeah, I mean,
he's pissed off all the time,
especially with United. But that's understandable because look at the teams that he played in at Manchester United. He won the treble. Right. He won the Champions League twice. He scored a wonder goal against Barcelona, and now he's looking at that Manchester United team and just saying, you know, what it could have been. And what I was a part of, and how shitty it became after I left. So I can kind of understand it away, but he is fucking miserable.
What you're saying, it is Paul Scholes' fault.
It's all Paul Scholes. It's all Alan Pardew's fault, I think, at the end of the day, because he is a bellend.
I was about to say that. Damn it.
He's a bellend.
Yeah, let's talk about fantasy.
All right, Garrett, do you want to take it away?
Oh, yeah, let's do this. All right, so fantasy update for you guys. No surprise, Ryan falls even further behind the pack, but that's not to say much because Muhamed is absolutely pulling away. Right now, Muhamed's leading with 778 points. I have 689 in second place, almost 100 points behind Muhamed, and Ryan has 651. So Ryan's about 40 points behind me.
I'm also almost 100 points behind Muhamed, just in the other direction.
Yeah. No, the distance between Muhamed and Ryan is about 130, 140 points.
I'm quite annoyed
Nice.
with how Fantasy Premier League dealt with my team this week, because it told me that Bernardo Silva was very unlikely to play, and so I didn't play him and instead played David Silva, and Bernardo Silva got 8 points, and David Silva didn't come on until like the 82nd minute. So thank you a lot, Fantasy Premier League. I think we know the agenda is against me.
Right, it's all against Aguero. Or
Everything
against Ryan.
Ryan loves is everything Ryan cares about right now is just
He's going to shit, all of it.
Yeah, seriously. Well, Lukaku did finally get a goal, so good for him.
Since September.
the next thing he has is he walks in and Kelly's laying there with a City jersey on. He's
Oh, God.
fucking.
I don't know what I would do.
You'd be walking to the courthouse, buddy. Get that shit taken care of.
I'd leave her.
Burn the house down.
Muhammad, no, you would not. You wear a City jersey on multiple occasions.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you got nothing.
You're belling.
But anyway, so
yeah,
it's not really even a fun game anymore. Muhammad's destroying us, but at least I'm not in last, so that's all I have to say.
What is good about this period, though, is that it is a very, very busy period for the Premier League. For example, we've got games on Wednesday. There's games on Saturday. There's so many.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, there's so many Premier League games between now and the end of January that it is not inconceivable that I could catch up to Garrett or Garrett could catch up to Muhammad. Because there's just plenty of games to be played between now and then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We are all good boys, us boys.
We are all bell ends. That doesn't work, does it?
No, not quite.
Boys, good episode, lads.
Yeah, that was fun.
I think
Solid. Those transitions on point.
Excellent transitional segues throughout.
Yeah, enough sexual tension to keep it interesting.
Always.
Hey, a nice little grammatics lesson.
Yep. I think grammatical is the word that you were looking for. So we're even more lessons.
That's how they actually say that in London. They say grammatics. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because you've been there so many times.
Yeah, man, kind of.
So
I'll send you guys a video to post when I'm in London.
He's gonna go to a schoolboy. Say fucking grammatics for me, you fuck.
All right, say bellend and say grammatics.
Have him say bellend. So tomorrow in the Premier League, which is probably today when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on the day that it comes out, Watford welcome Manchester City. West Ham play Cardiff. Bournemouth play Huddersfield, and then Wednesday. It is the probably the biggest game of this midweek fixture list. Manchester United play Arsenal. Everton play Newcastle. Burnley play Liverpool. Spurs play Southampton, who may well have a new manager. We will see. But his name is going to be Ralph. Or likely Ralph. And until I hear Robbie Mustoe on NBC Sports pronounce that last name, I'm never saying it again.
Fair enough.
That's literally what I was waiting for.
All right, so what games have we got at the weekend anyway? Before we skip out?
Chelsea City.
Yes, big game.
Small game.
United Fulham, Liverpool Bournemouth, Arsenal Huddersfield, Southampton play Cardiff, so that's a good game for them to be able to turn it around. Maybe
yeah, especially
get a
if
win.
it's that's likely going to be their first game with the new manager, I would assume.
Right. And then we got Spurs Leicester. That could be a decent game. Newcastle Wolves, Everton Watford.
Yep. And then
quality.
Then we just dive right into the middle of December. I can't believe it's December.
I know.
Sure.
Mental.
2 weeks from now, if we record, I'm going to be recording from Las Vegas.
And 2 weeks from now, if we record, I will be recording from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Wow, how beautiful.
2 weeks from that, it's going to be end of January, and after that, it's going to be February. Fucking hell!
Is that how months work? It's a bit crazy. All right, gents. That was a good one.
Right.
I enjoyed it very much so.
Can we sign
Garrett,
off?
Yeah, I think Garrett has it. Don't you have a catchphrase? You haven't said it for a little while.
Oh, thank you all for listening to the Studs Up podcast. Stay sexy.
I love it.